When you think of the most prominent feature of a person, what is the first thing you think of? The clothes? The shoes? Maybe the muscles? No. You think of the hair. But what about people who don't have good hair genetics? What will they do? Well, that's where wigs come in. People that have good hair without having good hair. But where did they come from? Well, it all began in ancient Egypt, around 3400 BC. The Egyptians believed a lot of different things. One of which was that it was a sign of nobility to have a shaven head. But the sun is very hot in the desert and would burn heads. So a solution was made. Wigs. The upper class would wear wigs to show their high rank and protect themselves from the sun. Wigs also helped maintain hygiene levels by reducing the incidence of head lice. The wigs were made out of varying materials, including sheep's wool, human hair, and plant fibers. The upper class wore wigs made of human hair and black sheep wool because they were the most expensive and authentic. The middle class, who could not afford the full human's hair or sheep's wool, would get a mix of human hair and plant fibers. In Chinese beauty, thinning hair was a problem. The Chinese used wigs to add to their strict style and keep them beautiful. However, at its beginning, it was not for everyone. The wigs were mainly for the empresses, and they were styled in buns known as zhaiji, or fake bun. With the different groups of wigs came different materials, the cheapest being made of wood. The better wigs are made out of wire, and real hair is wrapped around them. Human hair was used to make the most expensive one. The Greeks took major inspiration from the Egyptians. They also used wigs to show social status and authority. They were mainly worn by wealthy women. However, bald males were seen as unattractive. So, some men also wore wigs. One of the famous cases of this was Julius Caesar, who had alopecia. Hoping to cover this, he wore laurel wreaths and wigs to cover his baldness. Wigs were usually made out of the hair of slaves. As a whole, hair was essential to the Greeks. As an instance, on the occasion of the death of an individual, ancient Greeks would have mourners cut their hair and place it on the corpse. After some drought, the wig rose with European royals, including Queen Elizabeth I and King Louis XIV. Queen Elizabeth herself was reported to own no less than 80 wigs. They quickly became a significant part of the upper class, with King Charles II wearing them. By the 1700s, powdered wigs were massive in France, and rich households made their butlers wear them too. These wigs were made of horse or goat hair and did not get washed often. This was a problem because they would smell horrible and attract lice. They powdered them with wig powder made of finely ground cornstarch and flavored with lavender to combat this. Some models even had built-in lice and flea traps in the form of tiny containers or just pieces of cloth containing the bait. Wigs today are much different than back in Egypt and Greece. They are usually made of synthetic fibers or human hair, not the hair of slaves. Although made of similar materials, they are used for entertainment and covering baldness. People wear them in plays and movies to portray characters better. Hairstylists also use them for practice when learning new styles. Some people look good being bald, and some do not. However, many do not like the hair loss. Wigs have had a positive impact on the world. In Psalms, the Bible says, "Clap your hands, all you nations. Shout to God with cries of joy." The Bible tells us to be joyful and rejoice in the Lord. Some people feel insecure about their hair, and wigs can give them back their confidence. Some cancer patients lose their hair due to chemotherapy. Wigs help them also regain their confidence.